Yes, we are live once again here at the Reentry Connect podcast. Yes, workforce strategies. Yes, sir. You know what it is. We have a very special guest once again with Mr. Michael Robinson. Yes, from the Temple campus himself, the big influencer here in the city of Philadelphia. He's very involved with people within the workforce, getting people jobs, helping people have a better perspective of the workforce requirements, the things they're looking for, the things you should prepare for before even going on to considering a job. So I'm just here. I'm your host, Keenan Hudson, and we're going to have some very informative information. If you know anybody right now that's going to be looking for a job, whether they have a felony or whatever the case may be, they need to tune in now. And I advise you to contact them. I advise you to contact them right now because it's information that's going to be poured right now. It can be very useful for them. There's no more excuses for people saying that they don't have jobs. We're about to explain a great resource right now. We talked about this in the past. So without further ado, this actual broadcast is actually brought to you by GPS Transportation. GPS Transportation is a 5-star transportation company, serves in the Philadelphia area. However, it goes above and beyond anywhere you wanted to go, from medical transports to airport transports to party buses and luxury. If you want to find out about them, you want to contact them, gpstransportation.net. Phone number 215-774-9913. But without further ado, the powerful guest here on the show is Mr. Michael Robinson. Yes, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself and let them know who you are and what you represent for the community.
I really appreciate the invite today, Brother Keenan. Mike Robinson, I'm Director of Community Outreach and Hiring for Temple University's LenFest North Philadelphia Workforce Initiative. I know that's a big mouthful, that's a big title, but basically what I do is I help people in the Philadelphia area. I help them with their job search efforts to secure gainful employment. We prioritize the North Philadelphia community that surrounds Temple University and our Temple University hospital system. Those communities get the highest priority, but we serve anybody that comes our way in the Philadelphia area.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now, if you can tell us what made you get into the space of helping individuals with employment. The workforce is a very scarce workforce, especially after COVID. Nobody wants to work. But what makes you keep that drive and to keep helping people understand that there are job opportunities out here for them?
So one of the things that motivates me is that I know what it feels like to be unemployed. I know what it feels like to hustle to find work, especially when you got bills, you got kids, you got a wife, you got a dog, you got a house, you got all these, bills that are hovering in your orbit and you don't have a job. So I know what that pressure feels like. And for me, when I was going through that type of stress, my wife and I were having our first child. So, add that to the mix. So for me, it was the anxiety and stress of having all of those responsibilities, wife not working, and all of the responsibility of the finance of those bills fell in my lap. And so, I reached out to friends. I reached out to, at the time, my pastor, where I attended church, and others who I had strong connections with to help me with my job search. And that's an important message for any of your viewers, to reach out organically to the people they have natural connections with. If you're at a mosque, if you're at a church, if you're a member of the local Y, reach out to those connects that you already have to see what referrals they can provide you with. Because as a result of me doing that, one of the deacons at my church said, "Hey, Mike, why don't you consider, doing some substitute teaching?" And so I did. That paid like $200 something a day at the time, and that helped crack some of those bills that I had. And so I did that until I found, gainful work in the area that I was vying for. So I know what the stress and anxiety feels like. And for me, that always motivates me to give my all in helping others who are going through a job search effort, and especially when they're looking for gainful employment and it's just not popping for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you touch on a great point because the workforce best believe that employment is one of the main struggles individuals that are returned to society has a problem with. Oftentimes they're rejected because of the felonies they have. Oftentimes they're turned away because they just don't qualify or have the skill set to be a potential candidate. A lot of times they get to these interviews, they don't know how to present themselves. Yes, sometimes they may have a reentry work class or something to show them how to do that. But oftentimes they don't spend enough time rehearsing or practicing or saying, hey, you have to just be yourself. And if you don't know something, get under a mentor that can show you, or get under a person that has experience, such as yourself, Mr. Michael Robinson, that has that experience to show you these guidelines. But most people, they shy away from it because they feel as though, oh, well, if I do go there, they're not hiring me at what rate I want to be hired at. I tell people all the time, I started at $725, and yes, it started doubling, but I had to put work in first. I had to put work in for a whole year, 2 years. Yes, eventually it started doubling, tripling to where I almost started making, $100,000 a year, but that was besides the point. The point is putting in the work and have the attitude that you want to work. It's the work ethic is what counts. So, Mr. Michael Robinson, I'd like to ask, what type of programs are you offering? What type of resources right now are you offering people for the opportunity to obtain steady employment?
So if somebody, let's say one of your viewers is a reentry candidate, they just got released, or they've been out for a while, but they need help with a resume. We can do that for them. A lot of people don't know that there are 3 types of resumes. Now, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of styles you can choose from, but there are only 3 formats of resume: chronological, functional, and then the combined chrono-functional resume. And a person has to decide of those 3 which is going to be ideal for them. And then once they decide which is going to be ideal for them, then they can choose the best type of style and format. Because, the key is selecting the best format out of those 3 that are ideal for their situation. The most popular of those 3 is the hybrid, which is the chrono-functional combination, because it combines the best of both worlds. So we will assess which resume is ideal for a candidate. If they have a resume, but they think it needs some, sprucing up, we can do that. If they don't have a resume, we can start from scratch. If they need help practicing their interviews, we can schedule an appointment for that. If they need, let's say, assistance with some job referrals, based on their qualifications, we can provide them with that. And so those are some of the things that we can help a job seeker who's a formerly incarcerated individual who's having some struggle finding work, having struggle putting together an effective job search effort. They don't have to go it alone. Every week, for instance, I meet with, on a weekly basis, a probation officer named Agent Nyla Johnson. For the last 3 or 4 years, her and I every Wednesday meet with a group of her guys who have been newly released, and we go through those very topics that I covered. Now, of course, I go into a more one-on-one, deeper and more lengthier consultation with men and women that come and make appointments. But every week, every Wednesday, consistently, those who have been newly released from incarceration, I go over these topics with them because I want folks job ready. And I realize how difficult it is for somebody who has an incarceration, a former incarceration background, how challenging it could be. And so one of the great things here in Philadelphia that legislators have done to kind of level the ground for reentry candidates is to create a law called Ban the Box that was created a few years ago to protect those who have formerly incarcerated backgrounds from, initially in that initial meeting with an employer, having to disclose it up front. If you're applying for a job here in Philadelphia, it's a Philadelphia employer, a person with a former incarceration background do not have to disclose in that initial meeting that they were formally incarcerated. So it gives them a leg up equal with every other job applicant to compete for the work that they're qualified for. Now, when it is time for them to disclose about their background is when the employer is ready to offer the job, or when the employer is ready to do a background check. That's when they disclose.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that was some powerful information. I see we had a couple comments here. He was asking where we were located. And like you said, you're basing this right now off of the city of Philadelphia. However, we know that there are resources in other states as well, and it does apply. I know he mentioned something about employers ignore the ban in the box. Now, one thing I will say, like you correctly said, Mr. Robinson, is that there's been plenty of times when I went and filled out an application. And like you said, I didn't have to check off a box, or I got to the second interview, and that's when you had to say, hey, I'm a convicted felon. Yes, these were my charges. This happened XYZ amount of years ago. And it's totally up to the discretion of the hiring manager to hire you or not. However, just because they may frown upon your charge revocation B, you're still supposed to conduct good character. And that's the next thing we're going to be touching on, because a lot of people just think, okay, just because I have a resume, oh, I took this past trade, I have this under my belt and that under my belt, but this person's giving me an attitude on an interview because I have a convicted felon. However, anybody can say, no, it's okay. But eventually you're going to run into that one yes. All you need is that one yes. But at the same time, conducting yourself with perfect and correct character. Never said Absolutely. We couldn't make mistakes, but however, you're judged by the content of your character. That's very important. Yes, you may feel as though that there's stereotypes out there and things like that, but I find that sometimes as an excuse as well. That's not an excuse for you to work less harder than the next person, because there's been some positions where a lot of people could have got, voted over me, but my work ethic just outworked everybody. And you know what I'm saying? And then being versatile as well is a very important key. So I want you, if you can right now, if you can expound on why is it important to obtain a correct character when you go before employers?
So one of the things that I always advise anybody, whether they have a formal incarceration background or not, is to go into every interview prepared. And the way you do that is you research the company that you're interviewing with. And you can go on LinkedIn. You can just type in into Google the name of the employer and see what the company's about. See what their service or product is, and see if there's some interesting things on the website that jump out at you. I would also advise people, if you're scheduled for an interview, research the person that you're interviewing with. Again, go to LinkedIn, type in the person's name that you're scheduled to interview with, and see what pops up on LinkedIn. Because maybe there's some things on their LinkedIn page, which is a professional social media website for professional interaction at all levels. So if I'm a garbage man, if I'm a CEO of a major multi-billion-dollar company, people in professional capacities are on LinkedIn to network with one another. And so if you go to LinkedIn and type in people's name, see what pops up. And if you see some interesting things about the person you're scheduled to interview with, that could be ammunition you can use in an interview. For instance, let's say I'm interviewing with you, Brother Keenan, and yes. I go on your LinkedIn page and I see you just got a promotion 2 months ago or a month ago. When I go into that interview, I'm shaking your hand, we're talking, we're chopping it up. I'm going to weave into the conversation. Hey, congratulations, Brother Hudson, on your recent promotion. Now, if nobody else did their research, you'll stand out, because most people only research the companies. Wow. But a lot of people don't realize, go deeper and research the people that you're interviewing with. And so that kind of example that I gave there can be very powerful in you standing out in an interview among the crowd. Also, before the night is over, I'm going to put in the public chat of this broadcast tonight an article I wrote years ago back. I think it was in 2017, 2019 or so, on the benefits of hiring reentry candidates. And I tell employers, reentry candidates are a talent pool resource that usually gets ignored, but it's a great talent pool because watch this. Number one, folks who are formerly reincarcerated, they're more motivated than a regular Joe looking for work because they have that baggage they're carrying from their incarceration. So if you give them a chance, they're going to take advantage of that job and they're going to work that job hard for you. And so I tell employers that. Also, not only are reentry candidates more motivated in many cases, they tend to stay longer at a job. Wow. And so when you give them a chance, they demonstrate deeper loyalty with an employer. And so there's some advantages. And so as a formerly incarcerated individual, don't focus on the negative. As Brother Keenan mentioned earlier, focus on the positive, accentuate the positive. Talk about your skills. Talk about your level of education. If you got a GED, if you have some college experience but didn't get a degree, or maybe you have a college degree, maybe you have an industry certification like ServSafe or forklift certification. Talk about those things. And then here's the most important thing to talk about in an interview. Speak to your accomplishments, because if I'm working sales and you're working sales, we both probably have similar backgrounds. Even though we worked in different companies, we have similar backgrounds. But if I talk about my achievements, that's what's going to define me from everybody else, especially if I was salesman of the year, salesman of the week, salesman of the month, if I saved the company some money, whatever. Those are things you want to talk about. Yeah. And a lot of people who have incarceration background, former incarceration backgrounds, they've done some phenomenal things while they were on lockdown that they take for granted. Like some people have earned degrees, or they earned their GED, or they earned college credit, or they earned a certification, or they did work on the inside that's applicable on the outside. We've hired people here at Temple University, and Temple University is a fair chance employer, which means we give second chances to folks who have formerly incarceration backgrounds. We've hired a number of people here with that type of background. And watch this. There have been times where people have left off their resume the very experience we're looking for that they gained while they were on lockdown.
Wow.
And so we've hired people by telling them, hey, look, put that on the resume, resubmit, so that we could consider that experience. Because if it's not on the resume, it doesn't exist in our mind. So you have to include your experience. And we tell people, look, if you want to, create a resume, you can, let's say I was at SCI, right? One of the prisons here in Pennsylvania. You could put down SCI, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and let's say you work janitorial.
That's it.
But that's experience. But some people who come out, they don't realize some of those things that they did on the inside work well on their resume. Worked the library, worked in the dining room, worked in janitorial, worked in shop.
There you go. And you make a great point. A lot of people believe that just because they was working for 19 cents, right, that job didn't mean anything. But if you work that hard for such pennies, you can work just that hard out here for a couple dollars. As you said, people scrubbed showers for a living. People worked in the mess hall for a living. People served trays. People cleaned the walk up. They picked cigarette butts up. They were even cleaning up feces if somebody wanted to act a fool in their cell. But then you come home and all of a sudden you just feel as though you don't qualify for anything. No, you can use all those experiences and bring them out here and put them on your resume. As he said, there's help out here to show you how to build that resume, how to show yourself approved, and qualified to get certain positions. And another thing that that's very crucial, Mr. Robinson, is concerning patience, understanding. A lot of people just think, okay, yo, I just filled out 10 applications. Nobody responded. I just give up.
Now you got to stay on your grind. You got to stay on your grind. Carlos Parks in the chat room mentioned the power of soft skills. I want to correct him. Don't ever use soft skills. There's a new term that's used to replace that. It's called power skills. And power skill, because if you say soft skills, it diminishes the impact and importance of the skills that are normally referred to as soft skills. That's why I reframe it, and other HR professionals like myself, other human resource professionals like myself, we reframe that as power skills. And what are those skills? Do you have mastery of communicating well? Are you a good team player where your interpersonal skills are good, where you can work well with difficult people and easygoing people? Do you have good time management? Are you productive? Do you meet deadlines? Yeah. These are just some examples of what are traditionally known as soft skills, but I don't like that term. We rephrase and reframe and call it power skills, because think about it. If you lack in any of those examples that I just gave you, punctuality, communication skills, getting along well with others, right? Being productive. If you lack in any of those areas, you could get fired or reprimanded. That doesn't sound like soft stuff to me. That sounds like powerful, impactful things. And so we call them power skills to let people know that these are things that employers value. Let me give you some power skills that if a person possesses any one of these things that I'm about to run down, these are things they need to talk about in the interview about themselves. These 13 things were reported years ago in the 1990s by the U.S. Department of Labor and a national panel of top major CEOs in America. They all got together with the U.S. Department of Labor and these major CEOs to come up with a list of skills that are highly valued in the workplace. And it came out in this report called the SCANS report, the Secretary Commission on Achieving Necessary Skills. Here they are. Taking responsibility, making effective decisions, setting goals, managing your time well, prioritizing tasks, persevering, giving strong effort, working well with others, communicating effectively, having empathy, knowing how to learn, exhibiting self-control, and believing in one's self-worth. Those were the 13 skill sets that many American CEOs across the country and the U.S. Department of Labor deemed as applicable for any type of top-notch employee, regardless of industry. These are the in-demand skills that they look for.
Wow. That's some real powerful information right there. And I appreciate, sharing that the way you did. A lot of people don't break it down like this in some of these classes out here, a lot of these reentry. And I want to touch on one little thing as well, because I know when I returned back to society back in 2016, here it was, I was away for a long time since I was a kid. So the mentality of being incarcerated with the hostility, it was just something that was brought up in you. So I may say to somebody, a counterpart may say, yo, are you going to the yard? Yo, if you're going to the court, man, don't come out there with that soft stuff. An average person would think that's a form of hostility or I'm yelling at a person. But to us, it's just a form of communication. It's just how we talk. However, where I had to learn, when I started moving up in management in one of the companies that I was in, I had to learn that you're not in an environment in which you once were. So all of that you learned, that learned behavior that you had to adjust that in order to get along with some of your counterparts. You may say, hey, keep running the machine. We got to hit these numbers. Let's go. They may think, oh my God, he's yelling at me. But that's not the case. but it's just a behavior that you have to learn because you're not in that culture anymore. You're not in that environment where you got to make yourself aggressive. You got to, put on a front, or you got to put on a facade to show, yo, this thing is serious. It's okay to have a great work ethic, but at the same time, it's a big part of communication skills as well. And if you can touch on that about communicating and attitude, if you can base around that for a second, I would appreciate that, Mr. Robinson.
Absolutely. And you bring up an important part, because that goes to one of those 13 things that I talked about, which is communicating effectively. If you've been on lockdown and you've been in an incarceration situation, things are more aggressive inside. Things are more, I'll just leave it at that. Things are more aggressive. Coming out, now that you're re-entering society again, you have to learn to code switch. It's not like that anymore. And sometimes, those of us who've been on lockdown, we have to always keep our head on a swivel. We're always aggressive. We're always on a defense, because, you got to be on guard all the time. And having that hyper vigilant attitude all the time isn't healthy. And so you have to learn how to code switch. And sometimes that may mean getting some help to unlearn some of that aggressive and loud, personality behavior. And there's nothing wrong. There's no shame in the game, in seeking counseling and getting help for that, so that an outside person, a consultant, a career coach, a job coach can help you with those things. Because sometimes you can come off, a little aggressive, and it's not meant from the heart like that. People just take it like that because that's how you had to be, to survive and just go through a daily routine, on the block. But now that you're out, you have to unlearn some of that stuff. And we have workshops. There's organizations out here in the city like Mothers in Charge. They have a wonderful re-entry work group with guys and women to talk about these very issues you and I are talking about. The Urban League, the Urban League of Philadelphia, they're located downtown. They have a re-entry program. There's another re-entry program that goes through all of the stuff we're talking about, called Uplift Solutions. In fact, we're partnering with Uplift Solutions for an open house event this Thursday. They do workshops on life skills to teach guys and women how to be non-aggressive, to kind of Thursday. It's this Thursday, from 10 to 2. And so we're going to talk about at that event how, and it's only for reentry folks, how they can earn a certification in CDL driving, or they can earn their certification in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Free training to get them certified, and life skills training to deal with some of these issues, to smooth out some of the rough edges from being on lockdown. And then watch this. Every week that they're in training, they get $100 stipend. They get fed every day. They get a free SEPTA trans pass to get back and forth to the training. And then at the end of the training, if they complete it successfully, they get certification. And then the organization will help them with their job search placement. And so you can't ask for a better deal than that. And it's all free.
You can't. Listen what he just said, everybody. If you know somebody that needs a job, you want them to have the experience, they want to get certified in something, here it is. There's no better deal than what they're offering right now. He just said they're going to provide means for transportation. They're going to provide the stipend. So there's everything you need. And if you complete the program, you'll be certified. And I'm quite sure that during this time, there's going to be a number of resources out there, of other resources that you can connect with. Here it is. There are resources right here, right now. I'm telling you, it's something to tune into. So if you see this program and you know somebody that needs it, you share it to them right now. This thing is on all the platforms. And he said this program is going on Thursday. And I'm quite sure he got other events coming up as well. Am I correct, Mr. Robinson?
Man, now I'm getting hyped because you get me excited now.
Okay.
We have our first annual
Whoa.
re-entry job fair that's going to be citywide. We're
Citywide.
inviting employers and we're inviting community agencies on.
Wow.
That's right. You had it up April the
Is that it?
19th.
Okay.
April the 19th, Friday, April 19th, all roads lead to Temple University. We're going to have a number of employers. Now, watch this. It's
Okay.
exclusively for re-entry candidates only.
Wow.
So if you have a formerly incarcerated background, this job fair is exclusively and only for you. Nobody else can come unless they have a formerly incarcerated background. And so we're going to have employers there who are re-entry friendly, right? And then we're going to have resource agencies there that provide resources to re-entry candidates, like clothing and getting your license renewed, or getting a state ID and getting your social security card, because you need that kind of stuff to even apply for a job.
You need that.
And so we're going to have all of this kind of stuff set up for those who have formerly incarcerated backgrounds. This job fair is Friday, April 19th from 10 to 2 on Temple's campus. And so if you are a re-entry person, a person with a formerly incarcerated background, come on out to this event. It's a job fair exclusively for you.
Wow. Wow. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we definitely appreciate that, Mr. Robinson, for sharing that. So let me ask you, if the individuals wanted to get in contact with you, how can they do so? Please share.
Phone number 215-204-0677. 215-204-0677. And my email address is Mike, Mike.Robinson, ROBINSON @temple.edu. Mike.Robinson@temple.edu. That's my email.
Absolutely. And Mr. Mike Robinson, and right now, if you can give some individuals some great encouragement, some great words of wisdom, and to obtain employment and the necessary steps, could you please share to these individuals that are locked down right now, individuals that are in halfway houses, individuals that probably are in work release right now that may need this encouragement? Could you please share something with them right now, please?
Look, when we were out on the street, we kept our hustle strong, and we were diligent, and we were aspiring, and we were full of zeal. Maintain that same type of energy when it comes to looking for a job, because some people get deflated when it don't happen like that. But think about it. When we're all in the streets, we kept that energy going. We kept our hustle going because we had to, right? We had accountability, right? So keep that same mentality. Don't give up if the job didn't come this week, this month, or in several months. The average job seeker, it takes them between 6 months to a year to find work. On average, between 3 to 6 months to a year. So if you don't find a job because it didn't happen like this, because everybody want a job like this, and I get it. But the average job seeker, it takes between 3 to 6 months to a year to find that good job that you're looking for. So keep the energy going. Be persistent, and then find mentors. Reach out to a man like Brother Keenan, who has a lot of accolades and achievements under his belt. Reach out to your local state rep, your local congressperson, your local city council person who has services and programs that they're aware of for re-entry candidates. Reach out to a cat like me who work with re-entry candidates on a weekly basis. So you can't be a punk about this thing. You got to be aggressive about this. And we all know about being aggressive in the streets, those of us who have a street life background. So why punk up now when it comes to a job? You didn't give up the hustle when you got shot several times in the street slinging. You once you got well, some of y'all were right back at it again. So why are you punking up when somebody shuts a door in your face with the job? Come on now, let's stop with that. Keep that same energy and hustle going, because the odds are, watch this, the odds are that somebody's going to say yes. And whoever gives you that yes, work that job well so that that's a stepping stone for the next big thing, whether with that company or with another company.
Wow.
But the odds are somebody's going to say yes.
Somebody.
You just have to get to that yes. You're going to go through a lot of no's, but somebody's going to say yes.
That's it. That's very powerful, man. Some people are in these comments they're saying great information, Mr. Robinson. They're saying, you know, that's right. Everything you're saying they're concurring with. And I'm telling you, like, this is a powerful live tonight. And I see some great information. Say, keep up the great work. Mr. Robinson, we really appreciate having you on this podcast. And I know we're going to be having you on here in the future as well. And I just want to give a quick shout out to this program again. You said, well, let me give the first one. The first one you said is coming this Thursday.
Yep.
This Thursday, February 22nd. If you're in the Philadelphia area, it's going to be at Temple University. All right. In the Entertainment and Community Education Center down on 1509 Cecil B. Moore, room 214. Don't forget that. Like and share this. All right. And then you have another one that's coming in April 19th. So it's still not too late. Know somebody coming home. You better share this. Very important. Very great resources.
That was going to be big because I was a part of a job fair event that we did years ago. We had 300 people come out. So now we have more partners involved and we're reaching out to more employers and we're expecting a bigger crowd. And this is exclusively for those who have formerly incarceration backgrounds.
There we go. You got to have a felony. Not saying y'all just go out and commit felonies to find a job, but no, you got to have a felony. You know what I'm saying? No, I understand because there's some people that never even committed a felony but don't have a job. But some of them may not have good work ethic. They don't have a drive to even try to get a job. Or they may want a job that they want. They want to get paid top dollar and sit around on their butt all day, but that just doesn't happen.
That ain't happening.
You know what I mean?
If you find a job like that, let me and Brother Keenan know.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's very important. And I'm telling you. So, like I say, it's been a blessing, you know, tonight to have you, Mr. Robinson. Really appreciate that. And we just want to definitely just say thank you. We appreciate you addressing the comments. I know that a lot of people, like I was mentioning, you know, how can they contact you? We got everything on the screen. I believe is more than enough. They're going to know how to reach out. They have your number and everything. So without further ado, it's your host, Keenan Hudson, here with the Reentry Connect podcast, the workforce strategies with Mr. Michael Robinson, dealing with in Temple University, powerful mogul here in the city of Philadelphia. But again, just because we're in Philadelphia, we're able to reach other people as well throughout the country. So we know that there's resources for everyone. Feel free to connect in any type of way. Yes, Mr. Carlos, there's no problem. We can always have you on the show. But without further ado, again, this broadcast brought to you by GPS Transportation, 5-star transportation company. If you guys want any type of transport, medical, if you need some college students transferred, whatever the case may be, you just contact them and it'll be all good. You mention Reentry Connect or mention me, you'll have a great rate with no problem. But yes, so without further ado, Mr. Robinson, thank you for having you. We're going to end this broadcast for tonight, and until